Hey, so you're thinking maybe about building a new home in the Kansas City area. So there's some things that you need to know. And so how do I know those are those things that you need to know? Well, because I talk very often from to people from Tucumcari, New Mexico, or Cheyenne, Wyoming, or whatever, Boulder, Colorado, that are thinking about moving to Kansas City and building a new house. And so we have a big long conversation, and I find myself answering the same questions over and over again. And so if feel like if it's important to those people, it's probably important to you as well. So I put together 7 things that I think everybody needs to know if they're thinking about building a new home in the Kansas City market. Number 7 is the big one. It's the one I get all the time, and it's the least intuitive. It's like you don't think that's going to be the answer, but that is the answer. That's number 7. So we'll get to that. But let's kick off with number 1 right now, and that is this. Kansas City, along with the rest of the nation, but Kansas City is in a huge seller's market, which puts the seller in control. And in this case, the seller is the builder. This is a crazy market all across the nation. Right now, generally, with a good, healthy market, we will have about 4, 5, 6 times the number of houses on the market right now that sold last month. So if 10 houses sold last month, we'll have 50 or 60 houses on the market right now. However, in this crazy market, we have fewer houses for sale right now than we sold all last month. So if there was 10 that sold last month, we may only have 6 or 7 on the market right now. That's how crazy it is. And that puts the sellers in control. So the rest of this video, well, a lot of this video will be tilted toward the fact that right now we're in a seller's market. So if you're watching this video in a year from now, you may want to send me an email or something that just check to see if this is the same, or maybe drop it in a comment and I'll see that, and I'll put in a link to an updated video, or we can have a conversation about what's going on. But you should know that right now, super strong seller's market, which means super strong builder's market, let's say, since we're building new construction. Number 2, I always get, what do I do first? What's the first step that I need to take? And here it is. There's an A and a B. A, you need to go visit with your lender. Now, I have some advice here for you. 1, if you can, get a local Kansas City lender. Call somebody here. In fact, I'll link to 2 great lenders that are here in the Kansas City area that if they can't get it done, it just can't get done. They're super stellar lenders, and I'll put a couple of links there. If you don't want to use a Kansas City lender, which I recommend, then at least use a local lender in the city that you're in right now. Now, so if you have a lender there that you know and you like and you trust, then by all means, let's use that lender, right? They know your name, you know theirs, and that's okay too. That's my second choice. Third would be those national lending companies, online kind of stuff. That's just horrible. If you cannot use those, please don't, right? They don't know you. They don't know me. I never talk to the same person twice. I call with an issue and they're like, who? I don't know. What's this? And it's just horrible to deal with. So number 1, get a local Kansas City person. 2, get a person local to your market. 3, if you have to, Rocket Mortgage or whatever that you choose there. Along with that is, once you talk to your lender, they'll talk to you about how much money you have to save, because it's not cheap to buy a house. I'm sure you've bought a house before. Maybe you haven't, but there is a lot of wealth accumulation that takes place in order for you to close on your house. First of all, you have to have the down payment. Maybe it's only 3.5% if you're a first-time home buyer getting an FHA loan, for example, 5% maybe, but it could be 20% down, right? And so you have to accumulate all that wealth. And on top of that, there are closing costs that you have to come up with. You have to buy some title insurance policies. You've got to pre-fund a lot of your escrow. Now, luckily, that's all is still your money, but still you have to come up with cash right up front before you close on the house, which brings us to the third topic that we need to talk about in new construction. And that is the deposits to buy a house for new construction are considerably higher than an earnest money deposit for a house that already exists, what we call a resale house. In our market, earnest money deposits are roughly 1% of the price of the house. So if you buy a $300,000 house, then you can expect about $3,000 as an earnest money deposit, roughly. It can be higher if you want to make your offer stronger, et cetera. But in new construction market, those are often $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, $30,000, whatever the builder is requiring you to come up with as an earnest money deposit. Now, the good news is, most likely, unless you just do something nefarious, most likely that money is yours. It's not just some deposit that just goes to the builder. That will ultimately end up being part of your down payment or your closing costs. So it's your money, but still, you got to come up with it now. So that's the third thing, is that the deposits are high. Luckily, you're probably going to keep them when it's all said and done. Fourth thing I want to talk about is the builder's agent. And so in Missouri and Kansas, I'm licensed in both because we're right here on the border. But in Missouri and Kansas, we have a big distinction between whether you are representing somebody, a buyer or a seller, or whether you are just assisting someone, a buyer or a seller. So if you just take yourself down to a new home construction neighborhood and you walk in and you introduce yourself and you say, hey, do I need a realtor? That person will probably say to you, no, you don't have to go get a realtor. I'll be assisting you all the way through. Well, that's true. They will be assisting you, but they will not be representing you. They will be representing the builder. And it's in the build. Everything they say and do is in the builder's best interest. What you need is somebody representing you. You need a realtor, whether it's me or whether it's some other realtor, to go there with you on that very first meeting so that you have representation. Everything, if you bring your own realtor, everything that they say and do is in your best interest. So it will be you and your realtor working against the builder and the person there at the front desk that is representing the builder. So keep that in mind. Number 4, please get yourself some representation. We'll talk a little bit more about that. Here we go. Number 5, and here's one of the reasons why. The contracts here in Kansas City, well, actually everywhere, are very pro-builder when you get into the new construction. In resale, there's one contract that most of us use all the time, that we use a whole lot of the time when we are selling a resale house, a house that somebody already lived in. It was put together by the Kansas City Regional Association of Realtors. It's been around for a long time. If somebody gets sued, then we make the contract stronger. It's a very fair contract for both sides, and we use it a lot. However, that contract will not be used if you buy a new construction house. Everywhere in the nation, again, almost everywhere, I'm sure there's some exceptions, the seller of the property gets to choose which contract they're going to use. And since in this case, the seller of the property is the builder, and the builder has probably lawyers working for them, so they have created a very builder-centric contract that you then have to sign, which leads me back to, you need representation. You need your own realtor to be there to be able to understand that contract before you sign it and let you know everything that's in it, because the builder's representative has no obligation to go through line by line and tell you exactly what you're signing. But when you have your own realtor, we do have that obligation, your interest above my own, to go through that contract line by line. And before you sign it, you need to know what it is you're signing. You can't get out for this reason, or you can get out for this reason. Here's a reason why you would lose your deposit. All of those things you need to know before you sign the contract. So keep that in mind. Number 6, especially now, this is a big one right now, is expect delays for sure. Because there's some delays that the builders have some control over, but there's some that they just simply don't have control over. All right, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, your windows will be installed on Thursday. Well, the windows just aren't here. They're on some boat stuck out in the middle of the ocean somewhere, and they're not here for 2 more months. Well, that's no control over the builder. It just doesn't have the windows to put in, and so your house just sits there until those windows show up. And that's an extreme example, but you get my point, is that right now in this market, as you know, there's a lot of things that are just delayed. And that means that your house is probably going to be delayed as well. So we used to be able to build a house in 5 or 6 months, right? And then it's gone to 9, and now maybe even a year from the very beginning. In fact, I've got, if you want it, I've got a spreadsheet, a 9-month spreadsheet that shows every date that all the things that should happen in your new construction house. It's an Excel spreadsheet, and it takes it from the time you sign the time you look at a house till the time that you move in, and it lists them all out. If you want that, just send me an email. I'll put my email address up here and just say that you want that new construction timeline spreadsheet, and I'll send it to you. It's built out for 9 months. But even now, it might be more like a year or 18 months. But now that I've scared the daylights out of you on that, I also need to tell you that, you could get in a new construction house in a month or 2. So the builders are out there right now building houses, and they're all in different phases of construction, and many of those are available. And so you could go find a house that is, ready to move in a couple of months, and you can pick that house and you can buy it and you can move into it in a couple of months. So that's possible. But if you want to find the perfect lot and the perfect floor plan, and you pick out the brick and you pick out the flooring and you pick out the countertops, right, from the ground up, That's just going to take a while right now. It's going to take you, let's plan on a year, and it's probably going to take you longer than that. So don't get in a big hurry, and please have some patience. Even if they tell us, yeah, this house is ready to go in a couple of months, and we sign the contract, it may not be ready for 3 because they just don't have any control over many of those things. So my point, patience, grasshopper, because of this big seller's market, and you can't find a new construction house anyway. At least now we've found, you can't find a resale house anyway. At least now we've found a new construction house, right, that we can move into. That's what's driving a lot of people to new construction, is that there just aren't any resale houses out there. Well, at least this one now we know we can go there and get under contract, even though it may be a while before we move in. So number 6 is expect delays. Number 7, this is the big one. This is the question I get all the time, and the answer surprises everybody that asks me. They ask me, should I get an inspection on a new construction house? Now, if you're talking to the agent that's representing the buyer, they'll say, of course you need inspections, and we've got that covered for you. Don't you worry. This house will be inspected 29 times or whatever their number is from the time that they start the construction to the time that you move in. And so don't worry about it. We've got all those handled for you. We're doing all that. Well, what they're talking about is government's inspections that are required of them before they can build a house, right? The code inspections. Well, that's cool. That's glad. I'm glad that we do that. But that's a government employee working for the government. What we want is a professional home inspector working for you. That's coming in and looking at one house rather than looking at a whole bunch of houses in the neighborhood. We want somebody to just come in and look at yours. And I can give you example after example after example of some issues that we found in new construction houses that everybody's like, oh, well, it's new construction, it should be fine. But it's just simply not fine. With a resale house, you've had somebody live in the house, so they've been able to work out all those kinks. If there was a problem with the plumbing or the electrical or whatever, they're living in it and they know. With a new construction house, if there was a problem, you get to be the first person to find them. So I encourage you to get an inspection right there off the bat. So there we are, 1 through 7. If you want that timeline, let me know. If you want an update of this video, if it's down the road a bit and you want to know if it's been updated, let me know. Send me an email or call me. And if you're thinking about moving to Kansas City and you need a realtor to represent you in the marketplace as you're looking for a new construction house or any other house for that matter, please give me a call. I would love to represent you as you move here to beautiful Kansas City and build your first ever new house. And we'll talk soon. Thanks. Hey, thank you very much for visiting the Dwell Kansas City YouTube channel. I'm going to continue to do neighborhood tours. I'm going to continue to do model home tours. I'm going to continue to sit down with builders and interview them. And you can be the first to hear of all this if you just subscribe to the channel and hit that bell for notification. I hope that you will.